Hello, 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 it's Knits for Sanity and welcome to my channel. So this is actually going to end up being a WIP Chat, which stands for work in progress. That's the WIP part, which is just a time when I talk for about an hour, tell you stories, give you updates about what's going on in my life, while you get to do a project of your own, whether that's a crafting assignment, a crafting project, a chore, or maybe it is an actual assignment for something, taking a walk. And so that is what this will actually end up becoming. But to start off, I wanted to give just a couple of quick little updates about things that I had unboxed last week in my TEMU unboxing. So the first is the first completion reveal from that unboxing. As you can see, I did complete the mushroom house. I really like it a lot. I think the end result is super cute. My critiques are pretty minor, actually. The first one is the crystal drills were not good. They were not a high quality. A lot of them were damaged and unusable. A lot of these crystal drills, if you are familiar with crystals, you'll understand this, but it's like the color in a crystal drill. So let's pretend this is like your base of your crystal drill that will have the silver mirror background on the back of it. And then you have like your acrylic here, and then that's filled with color. A lot of these drills, there was only color like halfway into that acrylic, and then the base was clear. If that doesn't make any sense to you, don't worry about it. The takeaway here is that the color consistency through the drills was not great. So the quality of these crystals was very low. However, I did have enough drills. These are my leftovers. Some colors I didn't have a ton of leftovers. Others, like, this color I didn't have a ton of leftovers, but I had enough of every single color. I was able to throw away a lot of them, and I still had enough left over. Ones that were otherwise like super poor quality, but at least not like chipped or broken, I could choose to not use on here. And the end result, even with using those less than stellar drills, is still very, very lovely. I still love how this turned out. I love how it looks, but just beware, the crystals are not great. But again, it was a super inexpensive project, and the end result still looks really adorable, I think. I don't care for this particular crystal above the door, and that's just a personal preference thing. It doesn't match with the otherwise very earthy tone. It's like these are mushroom gnomes that live in the forest, but somewhere along the way they found diamonds to put on top of their door. I don't know. It just doesn't quite match up for me. Versus these little button drills up here, I could almost see this as being like a water drops or something. So this just aesthetically, this is not my favorite part of the whole design, but otherwise I think it's super cute. I still kind of really want to live here. If you did watch the unboxing, you'll know that this was not a flat piece. I don't think that you'll be able to really see that. So it was a little bit of a struggle getting into this base. I told you I'd be able to do it, and I did it. And I don't think I had to use any sanding. I think I just forced it in there. Yeah, I did. That's all that I had to do. I just had to use a little bit of force to get it into this base. I did go ahead. I put the stickers on the bottom. Like I said, I think this is just meant to be like an extra like protective element. And yeah, there you go. The glue I did try using this TEMU glue. I think I told you that that was the plan. And I am impressed when it did go on, much like I was afraid of, because this is this foam up here. There were, that was sticky. Now I got glue in my fingers. There were a lot of air bubbles left on here, but they were teeny tiny ones. And I thought, well, we'll see. They were teeny tiny air bubbles, and these were small drills, not large drills. And so it dried just fine. Just fine. Hold that up even close so you can kind of get a closer image of some of these drills. So, and I mean, they appear to be stuck on here, you know, nothing's moved or slid. And this is a piece that's just meant to sit out. You know, this shouldn't be seeing a lot of handling, so you don't need a like super duper sealer, just something that's going to hopefully make sure that this item can sit out for a while and these drills aren't going to go anywhere. And I do think that this is going to do just that. Yeah, so that is kind of a completion reveal for this one. I love it. Just, you know, the drills are actually kind of crappy, but the end result still looks great, and I paid so little for this. So there you go. All right, so that's update number 1. Update number 2 is much thanks to a viewer. I love you guys. I really, truly do. You guys give me the answers I need. All right, so do you remember this item? And I could not figure out how this was all supposed to work and be put together, because you got the suction cups and the sticks, and I was saying that somehow, you know, the sticks attach, and then you're supposed to be able to put this in your potted plant or out in your garden or something like that. But then you have these double-sided, massive, sticky jelly things, and I couldn't figure out how it all went together. Well, a wonderful viewer, thank you so much. She happened to know that you are able to look up instructions on TEMU. I didn't know that. I'm just so used to you don't get instructions with anything from TEMU. But it turns out there are sometimes instructions available for the items you purchase. So she went through, she located what this item was for me and told me how it works. So this is what you do. These sticker things, you're actually going to put this down first. So you're going to have a large round sticky disc on the back here. This does, like I pointed out, you know, you can stick your sticks through the little hole on the ends of these little suction cups. And then your sticky round disc is here. And then you push your suction cup down on top of the sticky disc. And that is how you make it. That is how it is put together. That makes more sense to me. You know, the thing that I did not understand, excuse me so much. The thing that I did not understand is why you had this huge round sticky disc. But that is how it works. So, because obviously, I mean, it looks really cute in suctions like this, but this isn't going to remain. You know, if you put it outside, this is never going to last like that. So thank you so much to my viewers for putting that together for me. If that did not make sense to you, try and find this item on your TEMU, and there are apparently instructions available. So thank you. I appreciate it. And now I'm actually more excited to make this item. Previously, I was just so confused by it that I wasn't really looking forward to putting it together because I wasn't sure. You know, when you don't know how something is supposed to go together in the end, you don't want to put it together. But now I get it. I think it makes sense. And I think, you know, I think that should help with having your suction cup stay in place for longer. So yeah, I am thrilled with the knowledge. So thank you so much. All right, so if you are interested in sticking around and getting a little bit of a recap and just some storytelling, please do. Otherwise, if you want to jet out now, you certainly may. On your way out, though, if you could please remember to like my video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel and definitely leave me a comment because your comments are so helpful. So yes, thank you. For those of you who are sticking around, I'm going to clean this all up and I'll be right back for my WIP Chat. I am back. So some of you may immediately recognize this canvas and say, oh yeah, we remember you working on this one. For those of you that don't, I will backtrack just briefly and just a tiny bit real fast here. So last year I ended up starting, I think there are three larger canvases that I have started and have not completed. And so this year, my top priority is just to get done with these larger canvases. And it may take me the entire year to do. As it turns out, the whole quip about life gets busier as your children get older, like you think you're busy when they're young, just wait. is true. I have never been so busy in my entire life, and my planner shows it. Like, there are so many times where I need to be 3 places at once, which of course you can't do. And then it becomes a logistical nightmare about how you're going to schedule all that and figure it all out. So anyway, all that to say that, yes, I have a number of unfinished canvases. And like this one was from an event, and it's actually probably my favorite event every year. It's the Great Escape event, takes place in August and September. And I couldn't complete it for that event. And so here I am, still working on it. I am, however, starting to close in on halfway done now. But it is a Dreamer's Design canvas. The theme of the Great Escape event this past season was fantasy, so it needs to be a landscape with a fantastical element. The painting is called Little Owl by Anne-Marie Bone, and the fantastical element is simply the fact that you have this owl house in the tree. You may be noticing a very consistent theme with me, which is I really do love woodland themed things. A lot. And so this kind of fits with all that, as well as this kind of color palette. This is very, very me. In addition to green sparkles. I love things that are green and sparkle. I just adore them. So, products used, canvas is Dreamer Designs. This is Bella Art de Nicole. This tray is from Muni Made. I actually love this tray, but it's hard to get Muni Made trays. She had a baby last year, and her stuff was super, super popular and hard to get prior to that. But I love this tray. This is kind of quickly becoming, in some ways, my favorite trash drill container, even though it is not magnetic, but because of the base here, it sits really flat and it's almost impossible to tip it over. It's a little 4-leaf clover design on the top, but I love it because it screws on. So even if it does tip over, as long as this is screwed on, I don't have a drill mess everywhere like I do with every single other trash drill container I have. And I have adorable ones. Bella Art de Nicole just makes these super cute, adorable ones. They had a jack-o'-lantern one a couple years ago that I still use. I love it. But if it tips over, your drills are everywhere. So this is my new thing. I want a trash drill container where the lid screws on. Anyway, this was from Add More Zest's Advent Calendar. And then my pin here was from Butterfly Effect Wares. I've talked about that extensively in the past. This little bitty thing of super sticky patty wax was actually a sample and a purchase that I had at one point in time, but I love it. I really, really love the super sticky patty wax. And of course, I will hopefully link to all of this stuff in my notes below. So I have peeled back one layer here. It looks like I have done all of the number 1 drills. So I am up to number 2. And it has been a long time since I've done a WIP Chat, guys. So that means a couple of things. The first one, this WIP Chat might be really awkward because I'm out of practice. I know it sounds really bizarre and strange. Like, what do you mean you're out of practice? You just sit there and you diamond paint and you tell us things. Like, how hard could that possibly be? You would be surprised. It could be surprisingly difficult. First, you are multitasking. I have tried doing WIP Chats while I have been knitting in the past. That's almost impossible, people. The only way it can be done is I need to be doing a simple knit or stockinette stitch, where you're just going back and forth every single row. There can be 0 counting involved. That is the only way. So you are multitasking, which makes it hard. But then there is something about truly being out of practice, about, the storytelling skills over a medium like this, where you get out of practice. I can tell stories in person because I do that more regularly, but doing a medium like this where I am talking to you guys blind, I don't see you. I don't get to read your facial expressions while I am talking with you. It's very, very different. So I am out of practice, and my apologies if this is a pretty less than great WIP Chat for you. I mean, I'm going to try my darndest. A couple things that you should know also is I do have a tiny little fan going in the background, so you might hear a little bitty whir noise. I do have it down on its lowest setting. It's in my little office nook here, or my little stink nook if my bulldog is back here with me. It's super warm back here today. Just the still morning sun, even though it's actually early afternoon, but because of time change, that still morning sun is having an effect beating through my office or little stink nook or office nook window. And so it's actually kind of toasty back here. So I have a little bitty fan that I use, and it works great, just enough to, take off that like intense heat from the sun pouring through my window, which, I mean, I do have like a sun blocking blind over it and everything, but it still gets really, really warm back here. And also my husband will be coming home from a walk very, very soon. If you don't know, he works from home. There are advantages and disadvantages to that, mostly advantages, but I've talked about it before, but I really miss having my space. Especially, he started working from home when the pandemic started, and that fall was supposed to be the first time ever in, many years of parenting already at that point, that I would have all my kids away at school and it would finally be like my time. And then the pandemic happened and he started working from home, and he's continued working from home. But like I said, there are mostly only advantages to that because he had also just started a brand new job that would have been taking him an hour and a half away from our house one way every day. And so I had really not been looking forward to that at all. So I try and remind myself of that, these are the blessings. We're saving on gas. He's able to be a lot more involved in the kids' lives because of it. But I miss my space. I miss my alone time. And of course I can talk about all this while he's not here, right? So it's not that he's a great man. He's a good husband. He definitely, he tries to give me my space and everything. But when we live in this teeny tiny house, and his workspace, by necessity, even though we have it on one far end of the house, it's still right there because our house is so tiny. There is no extra room that he can be in. I sit here in my office nook and I can look down and I can see his office space. There's no avoiding each other. And that's hard. It's just hard. And especially then the kids come home and it's even more crowded in here. That's our life. That's just the way that it is. And I remain thankful for the positive aspects of our situation. So there you go. But what has been going on with us? Wrestling season is finally starting to wrap up. Even though every time I say that, and my daughter is starting to get really, really ticked off when my husband or my other daughters make this joke. But even though I say wrestling season is starting to truly, it's really pretty much done and over, my husband always comes back with this quip of, but wrestling season doesn't ever really end. But it does. It does. High school wrestling is done for the year. It was individual state championships already a couple of weeks ago. While our own school did not have anyone who made it to state this year, Veda and I still went. It was kind of a last minute decision, but there is another kid that she knows since day one of wrestling, and it's actually her favorite coach's son, who did make it to state for the first time this year. And she really wanted to be able to go and see him. And he is on a team in a school with some other wrestlers that she has been following pretty closely for a couple of years now. And it made sense. We were able to make it work to run out there. It's in Detroit in Ford Field. And it went really, really well. So this school brought 4 wrestlers. All 4 of them not only placed in state, but every single one of them made it to the semifinals. And then 2 of them, well, 1 came in 3rd place, 1 came in 2nd, and 2 came in 1st. 3 of them made it to the finals round. Our friend took 3rd, which I feel bad for this kid because he is going with his teammates who all placed 1st or 2nd, made it to the final round. And so he's kind of feeling like, oh, I didn't do very well, even though as a 10th grader and at the state level, he did phenomenal. To take 3rd place the first time you make it to state is truly remarkable and a huge accomplishment. So I'm hoping that he has maybe started to kind of recognize that as the time has passed. He was definitely, I think, kind of feeling better even by lunch of the day after he did take 3rd, realizing that he did better than what his father ever did, my daughter's coach at high school wrestling. I think he was definitely getting some jollies out of that. So I do think he is starting to realize that, hey, no, actually, what I've accomplished is awesome. So that was a couple weekends ago. And then college wrestling, if you don't know, my daughter is also really into, she just loves wrestling, just really, really loves wrestling. And I really enjoy wrestling. So I've talked about it a lot on my channel, much to the amusement of some and the chagrin of others. But I've had people who have been able to say, you know what? I've never known this much about wrestling before. And it's actually kind of interesting. So I consider it then my job complete. Like, let's build an appreciation for this sport because I did not have one at all. In fact, I have said it before, but if anything, I kind of was negatively disposed to the sport all the way up until my daughter got involved in it 10 years ago. So I have come a long, long way, a very long way. But college wrestling, we are down to the NCAA Division I championships because my daughter follows the University of Michigan wrestling team. And one of the bucket list items that she has had is, well, she has 2 wrestling related bucket list items for things that she wants to do before she starts college, which one of them is never, ever happening. She really wants to go to the LA Olympics in 2028 and see Olympic wrestling. I, was just kind of curious, like, what does it cost to watch Olympic wrestling? Just event tickets. So, this is not travel, accommodations. I mean, nothing. Just event tickets. Event tickets alone are cost prohibitive. And that's just for Paris this year. What will it be like in 4 years? So yeah, that will never, ever, ever be happening. She is not going to the 2028 Olympics. But her other bucket list item, and kind of also FYI, I should add that she actually finishes high school in 2028. So she was thinking, that would be so awesome if I could go. And it would be like this amazing, brand new post-high school thing before I start college. Well, sorry, honey. But then the other thing on her bucket list was to go to the NCAA Division I Wrestling Championship. And specifically this year, because this is the last year that her favorite wrestler is eligible. His name is Will Dewan. And I got to thinking about it and I went, well, the Olympics aren't happening, but this might be feasible. The NCAA might be doable. So, I busted my butt. I sold off so much stuff, guys. I sold off my best and most valuable hand knits. And I did. I busted butt, sold everything off, and was able to get tickets in the University of Michigan section. And then, of course, like 4 weeks after I did this, then my transmission completely kaputted, which that's a completely different, sad, horrible, god-awful story that entered a new level of complication today, because of course it did, just naturally. But anyway, just a couple weeks ago, I finally had the big reveal with my daughter about going to the NCAAs. She is so excited. She's so excited that last night at parent-teacher conferences, almost every single teacher I saw, in fact, let me think. I think it was every single teacher talked about how Veda is so excited to go. She had to get a planned absence form, and then she has to bring that around for all of her teachers to sign and like leave what her current grade is and how she can access and do her homework, etc., etc. And every single one of them last night had to tell me at parent-teacher conferences that she's so cute. She is so excited about going. And again, just stating again that they just can't believe that she is that into wrestling, because admittedly, you look at this child and she's this nerdy, scrawny, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, glasses-wearing kid that you don't think would be this passionate about this sport, and yet she is. So that was really kind of cool to hear just how, I mean, she must be really excited. I mean, I knew she would be, and like she's even said things like, this is better than going to Disney World. I mean, this really is huge for her. So we leave for that next week, Wednesday. And I'm hoping it is everything that it will hopefully be for her. Her favorite wrestler should get, well, it'll be interesting to see how he is seated. If you're not familiar with how wrestling works, it's similar to other sports where you do have seedings based on your past performances and where you've placed in past events and everything. How you get seated in brackets, where then, you know, the idea is you put your top seeded against your lowest seeded so that you can actually like quickly wipe out half of your contenders right away. The ones that you think are going to be your weaker players. And the same thing is done in other sports, like I said. Her favorite wrestler, he has struggled a bit this season, and I had some concerns about what we might be looking at for the NCAA. But he rocked it at the Big Ten Conference this past weekend. He made it all the way to the finals. He ended up taking second, which is just, that's better than what he did last year at the Big Ten Conference, which my daughter and I did go to because it was actually at University of Michigan. So he did, I don't want to say surprisingly well, because I knew that he was definitely capable of doing that well, but he did better than anticipated. So that will definitely help with seeding for the NCAAs. He historically has gotten All-American. Let's see, the last 2 years he has been All-American at the NCAAs. So we are, of course, hoping for the same again this year, which would just be so cool for her to go and see that, his last year of eligibility. So that is, I think that's all that I'm going to talk about with wrestling. Maybe, hopefully. I'll try and just keep it at that. I think I'm done now. Yeah, I'm done. Let's see. So for my kids' other activities, my son, as you may know, he is our little performer and our dancer. He had a musical that he performed in, and that was coming up right after my last WIP Chat, which I know was a long time ago. He did so well. He was so cute. He did so well. I was so proud of him. His dance is, he had one more like community dance that he did just 2 Sundays ago, and it was at a minor league basketball game where he and all of the other like younger dance troops from his dance school all participated in the halftime show. And he loved doing it. He really enjoyed doing that. He did great. But the thing that really stands out to me, he had never been to anything basketball related before. He did not know any of the rules. So I was explaining the rules to him while we were watching the game. It was his first exposure with the sport, and he loved it. I mean, the kid, by the fourth quarter, he knew some of the terminology and was applying it, like air ball or slam dunk. I mean, he was cracking me up. I actually did put up a little short of him on YouTube that you can go back and find and watch. He was so intensely into this game. I could not believe it. I was not anticipating that, not at all. So when I asked him, then, do you want to play basketball? Well, that he's not quite as sure about doing, but it turns out they're actually doing basketball in his unit in PE right now. So maybe with doing PE in gym, maybe with doing basketball in gym class, maybe he'll change his mind and decide that he would like to try playing it. I don't know. And it definitely is going to cause some problems because it contends with wrestling. It's another winter sport, and his sister is not overly impressed that he seems to really be into basketball. Because of course in her mind, wrestling should be the only winter sport that anybody should ever need. And try explaining to her that yes, but basketball is actually the more popular sport, and that is not a good conversation to have with her. In fact, just don't do it. But we'll see. My son, there's still time. He could still surprise me, but none of my kids are terribly athletic. I blame my husband. But we'll see. He's young yet, and so now is a really good time. If he does want to try basketball, this would be a good time to do it. So I asked him last week, which was the first week they did basketball and gym class, did you enjoy it? He's like, yeah, we had to use a pretend ball, though, for a while. I'm like, oh, well, that would make things, I guess, maybe a little bit more complicated and difficult if you have to use a pretend ball. I think his class in school is, for our district, huge. His class requires 6 classes of second graders, which is not normal. Classes in the past have maxed out at 5 classes. And in fact, my daughters, I'm trying to, it's been a few years since they've been in elementary school, but I feel like they crammed their entire class. No, maybe they were 5, but the class ahead of my oldest daughter's class was 6. And her class anyway, just know that his class is larger than all the others, or maybe he has 7 classes. I cannot remember now, guys. I bet it's 6, and I bet they're pushing 150 students in the second grade, which is the largest grade in our district, hands down. But because of that, the only way that they can get all of the second graders to do specials, so things like music and STEM and PE and art, which those are their 4 STEM classes, is they actually need to take one of those second grade classes and split them up and then join the other 5 classes for their specials time. So the specials teachers get an additional, probably 5-6 kids plus one regular size whole class. So his specials classes are particularly large, and that would be a lot of basketballs, because then you're looking at needing to have over 30 basketballs, and over 30 basketballs going in a relatively small gym sounds a little bit terrifying. So I think that might be why there was some pretend basketball use. Yeah. So anyway, if you're wondering, why is his class so much larger than all the others? Simple reason for that: pandemic. Pandemic. My son has an August birthday, and he could have started kindergarten in August of 2020, when he would have just barely been 5 years old. But pandemic, right? And the school year that year was going to be super weird anyway. And I did not want to send my kids to in-person schooling because I had a daughter at the time that we knew had a tumor and was going to be needing surgery at some point. So I did not want to send my kids into school, until we had like a better control of the virus. And given how young my son was, being that not only would he have barely been 5 years old when he started kindergarten, but he was also a preemie, born a couple months early, I just thought, nope, he can just wait another year. And educators are pretty much in total agreement too that it's always better to have a kid wait, particularly if they are a boy. So that was my reasoning. And that was the reasoning of a lot of parents, which I think was really, really smart. That would have been a very difficult year to start kindergarten. And so I think a lot of parents who had kids that were kind of borderline like mine just said, no, we are just going to wait an extra year. And that is why his class is larger than all of the others. I'm kind of interested to hear your own, like, what are some of the repercussions that you have seen as a result of the pandemic and just the crazy ways that has affected our society. That's one very direct way. My son's class is quite large. Another very direct way is the fact that my husband works from home. What are some things that have like permanently been affected for you in your life since the pandemic? And obviously my heart goes out for those of you who are suffering from things like long-term COVID, which there are still so many people who have not recovered from this illness. And for some of these people, it's looking like a true recovery is just never going to be an option. Oh, my heart just breaks for all of you that find yourself in this situation, whether it's you yourself or a loved one who is experiencing this. I feel so blessed that way. My mother did get COVID very severely, and this was really at the height of the pandemic too. So, today she would have been hospitalized. At that time, however, you really needed to be like vented before you would be hospitalized because hospitals were that full. So she did take a few different trips to the hospital for various things, to get IV fluid, stuff like that. But otherwise, she was home and she was exceptionally sick. I remember talking to her, and like one time, I think maybe she was on the phone 2 minutes and she had to be done. She couldn't even handle talking with me on the phone. She was so sick, so tired. And it was scary. And my dad did later admit to just how scary it was. She, however, has done really well since. She's recovered very, very well. Now, she is a little bit older. And what I have read, and I know a lot of people like this, is it's more people like my age, like these middle-aged women, younger middle-aged women often, like me, early 40s, that are the ones that seem to be having the most occurrences of long-term COVID. And I don't know exactly why that is. Perhaps there have been more recent studies that have talked about it. I have not had the time anymore to keep up on that kind of medical information. I did for quite a while, just because it was not only fascinating, but I felt like it was like a public duty, like a responsibility. I have to know this kind of thing. So other than the like truly bleak and very sad long-term consequences of the pandemic, what are some of the other things that, the more mundane aspects of your life that maybe are now totally different because of the pandemic? Now that we are, for most of us, kind of on the other side of it, like I said, for those suffering long-term, there may never ever be truly another side. But, for the rest of us, what are some of those changes in your day-to-day life? in other sports related news, yeah, we do a lot of sports around in this house, even though really none of us are at all athletic. But it's largely in part because of where we live. We live in such a rural location, there's not much else to do around here other than get involved in sports with the school in particular. Track season is upon us. So my oldest is about to start her 4th year of track, her 1st year in high school track. And she was really, really excited. And then yesterday was the first official practice, and now she's feeling a little bit more unsure. I actually, like Sunday night over dinner, she was saying, tomorrow's the first official day of track season, and she was so gung-ho. But then last night I was at parent-teacher conferences, and the English teacher for my 7th grader is the girls' track coach. And she was asking me, now, what is this? Why may Sylvia not come back to track next week? Like, what's going on? And I said, I have no idea. I have not seen her yet today. I mean, because parent-teacher conferences started before track practice officially ended. So no, I have not heard this. As far as I knew, she was really excited and gung-ho. So I don't know. So I did talk with her last night and just kind of asked, what's going on? Miss Lauk says that you may not be doing track. What's up with that? And it turns out, I think it's a couple of different things, but a big one, and it doesn't entirely surprise me with this particular daughter of mine. She's very intimidated by the size of the track team. The track team is huge, as it often is. First, there's just so many events in track and field that there's, almost anyone can do something. But then also there are a real dearth of available spring sports in our district, where there's baseball and softball and boys golf. That might be everything. I'm trying to think, but that might be everything for available sports options. Again, we live in a pretty small district. We don't offer that many sports compared to some schools. So given that, and given the fact that a lot of these kids are encouraged by their coaches in their sport of preference to do things like cross country or track in seasons that they're not doing their other sports, you get a huge turnout for track. And so my daughter was feeling kind of overwhelmed by the number of kids there. And she's only a freshman. She's not a star athlete. So I think feeling some intimidation from that perspective as well. I just encouraged her, give it a try. Just, if you can just hold out the first couple weeks here and just see what you think. She loves doing hurdles, and that was the other aspect of this too. I gotta find my color here. Hold on. I found it. But she really enjoys doing hurdles. And for her and her ability, she's actually good at hurdles. She's kind of a natural at them. Her form is really very, very good. And that was such an exciting thing for her. 6th grade, she totally went out on a limb for her. This child has come so far. So far. I wish I could talk more about her history, but she doesn't want me to, so I can't. Just know that she's come so far. So when she agreed to try track in 6th grade, I cannot tell you how excited I was. And then when she tried hurdles for the first time, and she was just able to do it. There are people who can't jump over a hurdle to save their life, and she just naturally was able to jump over a hurdle. And someone commented like, wow, you actually have a pretty decent form for not doing this. So that was the encouragement she needed. So she enjoys hurdles. She feels like that's kind of like her thing. But on the high school team, there are other hurdlers, and there are kids who are, really good at hurdles. And Sylvia, like I said, for her, hurdles is definitely her strength. She has really a very good form. But she's not a natural athlete. I always don't know how to say this because I'm not trying to like make my kids sound horrible or anything, because they're not. It's just looking at the fact of the matter. My children tend to be brilliant. They're really, really smart. My kids get excellent grades. My kids are super duper kind. They can't do sports. That's so to realize that she maybe every once in a while would get to rotate onto being able to do hurdles, because in high school, there's a limit for the number of athletes that you can have competing in every event. That was really, I think that was very sad for her to realize, because that's what she enjoys doing. She wants to be able to do hurdles, and then to learn, well, you might be able to run a hurdle event once or twice this season. Oh, ouch. So, and it sounds like where they really need kids is for field events. She is not a field event kid. She did try shot put. Yeah, it was shot put one year. She did okay. That really is not her strength, are the field events. So we'll see what ends up happening. She did say that if instead of wanting to do both the 100 and 300 meter hurdles, and instead she tries just focusing on the 300, she might get to compete more. She might be able to run more regularly at the 300 meter event. And so I encouraged her to do that. I said, then do that. That one is definitely much less popular. It is a longer distance. Hurdles are hard to do, and what makes hurdles particularly difficult is not really the jump over the hurdle. For some people that is definitely the hard part, but really it's keeping the right stride. It's one thing to be able to do it for a 100-meter event, but to keep that right stride for 300 meters is challenging. So that is the much less popular hurdle event. And I encouraged her to then do that, focus on that, because I know she can get it. It's going to require a lot of practice, and it is going to take time to be able to reach a level where she can just, without having to really think and concentrate, be able to keep that right stride to hit all those hurdles correctly. It's going to be work for her, but I know she can do it. So I'm hoping that's what she decides to do. We'll see. And then she'll probably have to do the mile run. Because that is like the other event that isn't like super huge popular. Just kids don't like doing the distance running, except for the cross country kids who do track to help with cross country. And my daughter always thought she was more track over cross country. But cross country was such a positive experience for her this year, and now track's starting off not like what she wants it to be, that I think in the end she may end up being a cross country runner who just does track to help with cross country. We'll see. I could be wrong. Maybe this hurdle thing will work out for her. Who knows? But yeah, so there's the 1 mile run, and there's also the 2 mile run that are options that are available to do for track. They are boring as all get out. Oh. And as the runner too, you just run around the same track 4 times, 8 times. It's not an exciting run. It's not like cross country where there's scenery and there's a terrain that you're running on. This is why daughter number 2 does not like track. She enjoys the distance running. She likes doing cross country, but track is so boring. She hates just running around a track. I don't blame her, because if I'm being brutally honest, now this is a not so well kept secret, I don't like track. As a spectator, track is it's really boring. Like really, really boring. Especially when, like, my youngest daughter, she is also doing track this year for middle school. She runs the 2 shortest events that you can do in middle school, the 50 meter and the 100 meter. And that's all that she does. So she's literally on that track for like 30 seconds for the entire day. And this is a 3-hour long track and field event. And my kid is on the track for 30 seconds. Oh, guys, it's agony. And it's usually cold and windy and rainy. Sometimes it's snowing, which actually I prefer that over the wet, like 35 degrees and rain. Oh, so it's uncomfortable. I don't like track and field. That is my deep, dark confession. But my kids do, or at least a couple of them do. And so, I go, I'm happy to go. Well, okay, that might be an exaggeration. I am happy to watch my children participate. That is not an exaggeration. That is the truth. I am happy to watch my children participate. I'm not happy to go, but I do it. That's what you do as a parent. You attend, you cheer them on, you take breaks in your car to try and warm up. Even the really nice days when occasionally you got a really sunny day and it's not too hot, because there have been ones that it's really like way too hot and then you get sunburnt. But even the really nice sunny days with just a really light breeze, and you get maybe one of those a season, which helps, but it's still long and boring. So boring. So boring. Please don't think I'm a terrible parent for having confessed all of that. I adore my kids. So yeah, there you go. That kind of gives you like the whole sports update in the house right now. And yeah, I've done quite a bit of rambling. I feel like this is probably a good place to end it, just because I did have the introduction with, I have one more thing that I want to show you, actually, that I unboxed last week. I didn't have any trash drills today. So one more like post-review item. So do you remember my little like caboodle thing? I really like it. I did put it together. Now, unfortunately, there's just nothing that's really going to keep these cover minders from not making love with each other. So that's kind of a bummer. But it's still, I really like it, so I got my stuff in here. I do have a few drill pins in here, which I really only use, like this one, and then the one I'm using today, and then I have another one that I use in the bedroom. This bottom, I have broken cover minders down here, some additional cover minders, and then I also have all of my waxes and putties down here too. So, and then my drill trays are down here. Oh, this is the like exceptionally cute Bella Art Day Nicole jack-o'-lantern trash drill minder that I was telling you about. I love this thing. I think it is so adorable. I can't wait to take it out every fall. But, it does have a lid, which is nice, but if it falls over, the drills still go everywhere. But it is so stinking cute. And like the handle really works. I love this one. So yeah, a couple of drill trays in here. I don't actually own that much stuff. I have the few drill trays that I really enjoy using, so that's what I use. I have the few drill pins that I really like using, so that's what I use. I do have one thing of washi tape in here. I have plenty of other washi tape located somewhere else. Yeah, so there you go. But this is a really lovely little thing to use. I really, really like it, and thought you'd maybe like to kind of see that, yep, I did use it, and it has definitely helped organize my little rolling shelf thing over next to me. So that's been really, really helpful. All right, so that is everything for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry if this WIP Chat was maybe a little bit more boring than many of them. In part, just so much has happened that I want to get you caught up, you know. I didn't go into my car woes. You don't need to hear it. One day, eventually, I may have a working car back. I don't know. I don't know at this point. It's like every time there's another roadblock. Because of course there is, right? Of course there is. All right, guys, like I always say, please practice kindness. You don't know what someone's going through. You don't know their current life situation. So just be kind. Show that little bit of extra patience. I hope that you are having a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you again real soon.